Hello fellow human! Welcome back to another Dank Doggo / entitled parents videos. With everything is currently going on, are you still able to go to your local stores? Or everything is being shut down at the moment? The first story is posted by useless SSG Vegito. You're closed, so everything is free! Backstory. So, I work at a pretty big pretzel company. But for privacy reasons, I'll call it Uncle Unis. Anyway, I had worked there for a year already. And this happened pretty early in my second. This particular pretzel place was inside a small amusement park in Pennsylvania. Not Hershey Park, important to later. Alright, enough with the lame backstory, now on to the juicy story. Cast me. Guess M, entitled mole. TD, tired dad, not entitled. TK, tired kid. Story. So it was last 5 minutes after my shift, so I'm tired and want to go home. We were busy cleaning and not paying attention to the window, because normally most families would have left it by this point. Then we hear a knock our window. Now I'm the cashier, so I walk up to the window. I say the line I always say. Me. Hi, how can I help you today? M. Yeah, are you closed? Me. Yeah, we closed 5 minutes ago. M. Great. Do you have any leftover pretzels? Me, yes, we do. Why? M, can I have them? Me, how many would you like? M, 5. Me, alright, that comes to 21.15. It's $4.23 a pretzel. M, what? Aren't they discounted? Me, if you have a season pass, it's 15% off. M, no. You're closed, so the pretzel should be half off. Me, wanting to go home and stopped caring. Why do you think that? M, you're closed. So that means that the pretzels are a day old and should be discounted. We switch out our pretzel every 30 minutes. Me, those pretzels are only 30 minutes old. M, fine. Babe, do you still want them if they're full price? TD, I don't care, hurry up so we can go home. M, fine. So I can get 50% off, right? Me, if you have a season pass, yes. M, no. I should get 15% off because you're closed. Me, ma'am, no. As you stated, we're closed, so we're no longer selling pretzels. I'm only offering them to you because my boss wants as many sold as possible. M, see? You can't sell them, so they're free. Me, no they're not. I'll take them home and eat them for my dinner. I was too tired to care. I had just worked a 5-hour shift. I know it's not that long, but it was like 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And I had to deal with the kids the whole time. Plus, I'm 15 and they can't have me on for much longer. M, you don't need them. My kids are hungry. Me, then buy them some food. M, no, they are free. Me, for me, yes, for you, they are $4.23. TK, Mommy, can we go home now? And then starts screaming something that no one but dogs could understand and leaves. Well, imagine fighting for freaking pretzels. This entitled mother is unbelievable. We have here the second story written by /shy girl turned sassy. How my entitled aunt and cousin ruined my 10th birthday. My aunt, dad's sister, has always been the textbook entitled tramp. When I was a kid, she never missed an opportunity to make me feel like garbage. From thinly veiled insults to outright verbal and emotional mockery. She threw what she could at me in an attempt to break me. Of course, the disgust she felt for me and the faults she found in my dad's parenting never stopped her from mooching stuff off of him or asking him for favors without ever giving anything in returns. She and her husband considered their son to be a gift from the heavens. And he too grew up to be a narcissistic jerk who loved to torment me. Even though I was 7 years younger than him. My mom passed away when I was 1 year old, and both my aunt and my grandmother had been extremely mean to her as well. But that's another tale for another time. This is about the time she, along with her son, ruined my 10th birthday. This incident resulted in me being put off of my birthday and deciding to never celebrate them again. I just couldn't see them as a cause for celebration. My entire extended family, which included the said aunt, uncle, and cousin, along with some other relatives, were at our home. My dad and stepmom had gone out to run some errands. My cousin had invited some of his friends over, even though my dad and stepmom didn't know them. My dad allowed them to come after my aunt whined incessantly about how her son would be bored if his friends were not there. I remember sitting in my room playing with my dog. I knew my cousin would be down there, and I usually did what I could to avoid him. At the time, I suffered from a pretty bad stutter, and when I was upset or angry, it only got worse. This is something my cousin loved to make fun of, and of course, my birthday would be no different. He demanded that I come downstairs to talk to his friends. When I refused, his mother told me to stop being rude and do as I was told. I was a powerless kid, so I really had no other choice. I went down to the living room, and my cousin introduced me to his buddies in his usual condescending way as the birthday girl. He handed me a novel and told me to read it out loud. I tried to read properly but failed. I was surrounded with judgmental stares and it made me nervous. I stuttered, which is exactly what my cousin was hoping for. He and his friends began to snicker. I got angry and stopped reading. Cousin called me a freak and his friends looked at me as though I was on display at a zoo exhibit. I wanted to prove them wrong, that I wasn't a freak, that I could read. I tried reading again. This time, on account of me being angry, the stutter was much worse. My cousin decided to mock my stutter and all but one of his friends roared with laughter. The one that did actually notice my tears and told the other to knock it off. He asked if I was okay. My cousin told him not to bother. It's just a joke, and that I was just an oversensitive baby. My rage was boiling over, and I threw the book at my cousin's face and stomped out. My aunt had seen what had happened and decided to pull me by my hair and drag me back to the living room. She told me to apologize to my cousin, and I refused. She told me I needed to be taught a lesson for being a brat. I tried to tell her what had happened. She chuckled and said, "So what? He's your cousin and he's older than you. You need to respect him. Now apologize." I refused again. This time with a, "No, I hate you. I hate all of you." All the while crying and shaking with anger. This didn't sit well with Aunt and she slapped me before insulting me with extremely harsh words. She told me I was a troublemaker just like my mother had been. That she knew the day I was born there was something wrong with me. That an evil tramp like my mother couldn't possibly produce a normal kid. This was it. I balled up my fist and connected to my aunt's face. I punched that tramp so hard I busted her lip. By now, all other relatives had heard the commotion and had gathered in the living room. The moment my fist connected with my aunt is when my dad and stepmom walked in through the front door. The aunt started fake crying. She berated my father for not raising me right and went on and on about how I was a violent, ill-mannered brat, etc, etc, etc. The other relatives too expressed their disappointment in me. My dad asked me what the hell I thought I was doing. I tried to tell him what my cousin had done and what my aunt had said about my mother. Unfortunately, my stutter reacted its ugly head again, and all that came out of my mouth was gibberish. My tears were flowing again. In the meantime, my cousin had decided to take all his friends and bail. I was punished for my beastly conduct. My birthday celebration was cancelled. My dad called my friends and asked them not to come over. I didn't cut any cake. The presents I was to receive from my parents were stocked away. I was banished to my room and stayed there for the rest of the day. I ate lunch and dinner alone. The next morning, no one spoke to me. I was given my breakfast platter, which I ate in my room. That afternoon, my cousin's friend, the one who had told them to stop mocking me, came over. He told my dad what my cousin had done and what my aunt had said. My dad sat me down and apologized to me, but added that it was still wrong of me to punch my aunt. I just sat there silently. I was emotionally numb. My dad kept telling me that he loved me and that he was sorry. I just coldly stared at him. My stepmom suggested a belated birthday celebration. I refused. I told them I didn't want a birthday party and that I wouldn't celebrate my birthday ever again. I kept my word. Every year since that day, my parents would ask me what I wanted for my birthday, and I always replied, nothing at all. I would ask them to not get any cakes and not to invite any guests. The day I was born now meant nothing to me, and even now, after all these years, I don't celebrate my birthday. Instead, I celebrate the day I landed a job that enabled me to move away from my family and start a new life. I considered it the day of my rebirth. It was the day I was able to leave all the pain and anger behind and could plan for a life that I would live on my own terms. My aunts and uncles' crappy parenting ended up costing them dearly. Your aunt was a psycho and your dad was too slow for not immediately realizing it. Good job on staying positive and getting away from all of that. Next up, we have the third story shared by u/Brightside256. My entitled mother-in-law-to-be threw my family heirloom engagement ring down a storm drain. I have seen a lot of crazy people in my life, but my potential future mother-in-law is the absolute worst person I've ever met. I, 30 years old female, have been with my boyfriend, 31 years old male, for 8 months now. For the first few months, everything was amazing. He is the sweetest and most caring man I have ever been with. He likes to surprise me with fun dates and flowers for no apparent reason. The biggest surprise of all, though, was when I met his mother. I met his parents for the first time a few months ago. The first thing future mother-in-law said to me when I walked into the door was, "Are you Jewish?" I'm not, and I'm not particularly religious, but I was raised Catholic. Once I told her, this is the beginning of the madness. She immediately stopped talking to me and acted as if I didn't exist. I was extremely nervous about meeting my boyfriend's parents, so this broke my heart. I was determined to make a good impression, so I kept trying to connect with her. This was a huge mistake, and I should have just let it go. Once we were all seated for dinner, she finally decided to try and make conversation. I have naturally red hair, and she asked me if my parents have the same color, and I told her that I have the same hair as my mother. She then had the audacity to ask me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" I had no idea how to respond and just sat there stunned. Seeing my reaction, she said, "Don't worry, I'll just ask my son about it later." I looked over at my boyfriend, who seemed equally as shocked, but he didn't say anything. She then started to go on about my hair being too curly. She told me that I really need to learn how to run a brush through my hair and think about my appearance more when I'm out with her son. Then, when I didn't eat much at dinner, she gave me her version of a compliment. I was told it was good that I'm watching what I eat because it would be a shame if I got any bigger. This was my first meeting with this woman, and as soon as I got into my car, I burst into tears until I got home. My boyfriend was texting me and apologizing for his mother's behavior, but the damage was done, and I told him I needed time to think. He went into apology overload after this, and started sending flowers to my office every day and leaving me messages begging me to talk to him. And I finally agreed, and we went out to dinner. He told me he spoke with his mother about her inappropriate comments, and he swore it would never happen again. With this reassurance, I decided to give it another chance. Fast forward 2 weeks to when he invited me to come to a family birthday party. This time, I would also be meeting his sisters and grandparents. His grandparents and sisters are awesome people. They asked me normal questions about my job, family, and friends. His mother seemed to be avoiding me throughout the evening, and honestly, I was okay with that. I went to grab something from my purse, and I noticed it was not where I left it. I looked everywhere, but I could not find it. I went and asked my boyfriend, and he began to help me to look. He then got a strange look on his face, and he quickly went upstairs. I could then hear a lot of yelling begin upstairs. He came back down holding my purse after a few minutes and told me that we were leaving. Once we got into the car, I asked him what was going on. His mother had taken my purse so that she could see my driver's license. She intended to try to run a background check on me. He told me she had told him this earlier, but honestly had thought she was joking. I thought it was best if I avoided any of his family functions for the time being. This worked out great for a while, and he went to any of his family parties alone. and he would ask me each time before leaving if I was sure that I didn't want to go, but I always declined. Last week, his family had their family reunion, and he asked me to please come with him. I was very reluctant, but considering there would be so many people present, I didn't think she would pull anything. When we got there, everything was going great. I met his extended family and got to catch up with his sisters. His mother did seem to be shooting me death glares all night, but I brushed it off. Soon she came over and joined a table I was seated at with his sisters and some cousins. The conversation was pleasant as we were talking about his sister's children. His sister has a daughter who is 12 and is the same age as my niece. I then showed his sister a picture of my niece on my phone. His mother took a look at the screen and began to laugh. She told me and hopes that if me and her son ever have children, that they don't look like my niece. My niece is beautiful, by the way, and she's only 12 years old. What kind of monster attacks a 12-year-old child's appearance? This was my breaking point, and I went off like a volcano. I start to scream at her and told her she's the evilest person I've ever had to disadvantage to meet. I told her if I ever did have children with her son, she can be certainly she will never meet them. Because hell is too far to travel to. I'm not 100% certain exactly everything I said, but from what his younger sister later said, it was epic. She began to play the victim and wailed that I had just misunderstood her joke. My boyfriend came rushing over at this point, and she threw himself into his arms, telling him I'm a horrible woman, and he needed to throw me out right now. He told her that wasn't going to happen and stopped making a fool of herself. She seemed to accept this for a moment and sat back down. She just kept sobbing that I just didn't understand how to take a joke. Then something in her snapped as she noticed something that my boyfriend was holding in his hand and began to have another meltdown. I didn't understand what was happening at this point and just stood there watching a grown woman pitch a fit like a toddler. None of what she was saying made any sense to me, as it was mostly just incoherent screaming. But I did pick up many derogatory comments directed my way. My boyfriend then told me we were leaving and told me to grab my things. As I started to get ready, the future mother-in-law made a lunge for my boyfriend's hand and grabbed the small box he was holding. She then looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "You will never have this ring, you little chap." She ran outside and then threw the box down a storm drain. Turns out that my boyfriend was intending on proposing to me. He had just obtained his grandmother's ring while we were at the reunion. His grandmother is completely heartbroken because now her ring is down a storm drain instead of continuing on in the family as she had always wanted. I don't know where to go from here. I am devastated, confused, and exhausted. Can I ask him to never see his mother again? Is that my place to say something like that? I'm sorry that my story is so long, but I really needed to get this rant off my chest. I hope that grandma disowns her. There's no way I would stand for that if I was in her shoes. Such behavior disrespected the entire family. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.